Good morning, Team Alabama. We are ready for more of the Lottery Rose. We are on page 38. The court is letting me be a foster mother to you, Georgie, until they've found a place for you. I wish I could keep you always, but at least I can take you home with me this afternoon and say that you're my boy for a little while. Georgie had no idea who the court might be or what Mrs. Sims meant by the words foster mother, and he was too tired to ask or to care very much, so long as no one said that he must go back to the apartment where he had lived with his mother. Mrs. Sims and her husband were kind to him, but Georgie and his rosebush were left alone each day while his foster parents worked at their jobs, and when he began to sleep a little less, the days grew lonely. And sometimes at night, the three of them talked about what they could do about his bush. "There's no place around this building where we can plant it, Georgie," Mrs. Sims told him, "but a man down at the florist shop says that the bush will stay healthy for a long time if we keep the moss around it well watered. And maybe in a week or two, we'll be able to find a place where we can give it a bed in some yard or garden." Once Georgie overheard some whispers between Mrs. Sims and her husband. He wouldn't have paid any attention except that he suddenly realized they were talking about his mother and Steve. "They say his mother ain't long to live. Too much whiskey over the years," he heard Mrs. Sims say. "The man's in jail. Judge O'Neill has talked to all the neighbors, the police, and the people over at the school, and now he wants to see Georgie himself. They'll let us know when we're to take him over." "I wish we could keep him," Mr. Sims said after a while, "if we were younger and if we had money. As it is, we're in no shape to take on a youngster." They were both silent after that, and Georgie was left wondering. A few days later, Mrs. Sims stayed home from work. "A social worker is coming to take us to court today. The judge wants to talk with you. Try to answer his questions in a polite way. Georgie, don't just duck your head. Try to remember that, won't you?" Georgie's eyes were wide with fright. "What's a judge?" he asked. "This one's a good man, I hear. He wants to do what's best for you, Georgie. You needn't feel afraid. He just needs to know you better." On the day they went to court, a tall woman who called herself a social worker pushed Georgie in a wheelchair down a long hall which seemed to him to go on and on for at least a mile, with dozens of closed doors on either side. And when they finally opened one of the doors, a lady showed them into another room where a man with thick eyebrows sat at a desk and motioned them to sit near him. He extended a hand towards Georgie. "I am Judge O'Neill, Georgie, and I know a great deal about the things that have happened to you. I have some plans for you, though, some pretty good ones, I think. We must talk them over." He paused and studied Georgie's face thoughtfully. Finally, he smiled. "They tell me that you have a rosebush that you like a lot," he said. Georgie nodded. He wondered who would have told this stranger about his prize. "I am a rose fancier myself, Georgie. That means that I grow roses and try to learn all I can about caring for them." Fancier might be a word that we want to add to our vocab, and that's someone who likes that. If you fancy something, you like it. "I can understand how eager you are to get your bush planted, and so I've found a place out in the country for you where some very nice people will take care of both you and your bush." Georgie just stared at him, knowing that he'd have to say, "All right, grown-up people could do anything they wanted to. This place I have in mind is a school where you will live, where you'll eat and sleep and learn, and where the people who have been cruel to you can never hurt you again. It's a very good school." The word school made Georgie gasp. "Couldn't I stay with Mrs. Sims?" he managed to ask. "I'm afraid not. Mrs. Sims and her husband can't very well take care of you. Anyway, I think that you should be taken far out of your old neighborhood." Judge O'Neill was silent for a short time and then continued in a deep voice. "This school is for boys, most of whom have lost one or both parents, though some of them are sent there by both parents simply because it is a good place for boys to learn and at the same time be healthy and happy. The lady in charge is one of the finest teachers that I have ever known. You'll like her. She is a tiny little woman about this high. And he lifted his hand to a point just a few inches above the back of his chair. You'll call her Sister. Her full name is Sister Mary Angela. Georgie's head drooped, and he made no reply. The judge reached out a hand and patted the boy's knee, and then he spoke to the social worker. I've managed to convince the board of directors that they can afford to take him for 3 months without tuition. Okay, tuition would be the cost that it would be to go to that school. After that, I think that we can get someone to sponsor the boy if he fits into the school, especially if Sister Mary Angela wants to keep him. I'm confident that this is the place for him. He shook hands with Georgie then and wished him good luck. Sister Mary Angela will find a place for your rosebush too, Georgie. I've told her about it, and she says no problem. Okay, Team Alabama, we're going to add some facts today. I'd like you to go ahead and add at least 5 facts about what you've learned. Okay, what did Judge O'Neill say? What did Mr. and Mrs. Sims say about Georgie staying with them? Add those as facts, please. Make sure you add about 5 facts for the day. Have a great rest of your day, Team Alabama.